Hey, it's Mrs. Null, the word nerd, back with you again today. Today's going to look a little bit different. So far we've been focusing on bases, and I wanted to take a little sidestep and talk about an ending that is very familiar, and that ending is shun. Now, you guys all know how to spell words with shun, you know how to read words with shun, but shun is tricky because even though it sounds like shun, S-H-U-N, it's not. The one problem is, how do I spell it? T-I-O-N, of course, is really common. It's probably the first one most of us have learned. S-I-O-N, it happens. It's common too. C-I-A-N, less common, but they all say shun, shun, shun. Now, some of them can make some other sounds too, like jeune. But we're not talking about that today. Today, we're just talking about the sound shun and how it should be spelled. I am here to blow your mind because I want you to take everything you knew about these word parts and remember that these are word parts and not suffixes. For today's purposes, we're also not going to worry about C-I-A-N. We're just going to look at T-I-O-N and S-I-O-N, and we're going to really pull them apart and look at the true suffix hiding inside. We talk about T-I-O-N and S-I-O-N as final stable syllables. We talk about them as a word part that we can easily just chunk off to create basically a shortcut for us as readers. Let's use a word that you helped me build by morphemes on an earlier Mrs. Null is a Word Nerd video. Let's look at the word subtraction. Well, one of the first shortcuts I can take if I'm going to attack a word, I know you know this word, just work with me, is to chunk off prefixes and suffixes. Now, is this wrong to attack the word this way? No, I know that sub means under, and I know that T-I-O-N says shun. What I'm left with is track. Now, if you've really been studying morphemes, which is what I've been trying to train you to do, then you will know that the true base in this word is actually tracked, right? It means to pull. Subtract, to pull under or to pull below. So even though chunking off that T-I-O-N for the sound is helpful if I'm just trying to sound out a word, if I'm truly trying to attack a word to get to the heart of the meaning, you'll see that I-O-N is really what I need to chop off because that T is a part of my base. Let's go ahead and try another one. I'm going to do another pretty common word. Let's do the word interruption. Inter means between, right? Rupt means to burst. And shun makes it into a noun, that I-O-N. Now here's something pretty cool. How many R's are there here in interruption? 2. I might have to memorize that if I wanted to try and spell my word just by sounds. Interruption. Those 2 R's blend together. But I don't have to do any memorizing if I can do my word by morphemes. Inter, I-N-T-E-R. Rupt, R-U-P-T. What have I got left? Suffix I-O-N, which makes things into nouns. Inter, between. Rupt, to burst. If I interrupt, I burst between. Interruption is the act of bursting between. Okay, let's try one more. The word I'm going to give you today is a little bit trickier. I mean, it's a simple word, but a little trickier to attack. Okay, the word is question. You know the word, you memorized the spelling of it, you memorized how to read it. I might have previously seen some of you bracket off the T-I-O-N as a suffix. And T-I-O-N is a final stable syllable, so you wouldn't have been wrong to bracket off T-I-O-N, but you lose so much of the meaning. Let's take off that I-O-N, which makes it into a noun. And what word do I have left? If you're on a quest, you're on a search, right? So really, a question is the state of searching for something. Oh, well, doesn't that make sense now, right? Okay. Now, miss means to send. So if I send you on a mission, I send you on the act of being sent somewhere. I've sent you somewhere. It's not just you wandering. You're on a mission. I've given you a reason to go. I've sent you to it. What if I'm at a play and I have 2 acts and there's a break in between? Inter means between. An intermission sends people out between acts. What if I have a disease and I get it to go away? I'm in remission to send it away. Once again, what if trying to think of another one for you. Oh, what if instead of the shun ending, I ended ILE? A missile, I send a missile up through the air. There's so many more. And this is the kind of thing I want you to do on the word nerd. If you can find something that has miss in it to send, put it on the flip grid. If you can find something that has ION at the end, put it on the flip grid. Point out for us if it follows a base ending in T, a base ending in S, or maybe yours follows something completely different. I cannot wait to see. You're going to find there's a lot of French influence in these words that have SION. Not in this word, but there's other words like mansion that have SION. It comes from French. And I just always think it's fascinating to study words and their history. That's all I have for you today. Can't wait to see what you put on the flip grid. I miss you all. Thanks for being a word nerd with me. Bye. Hey guys, Mrs. Null here. Just wanted to show you a little bit on this book widget about how ION is the actual suffix, and you get that T at the beginning of TION or the S at the beginning of SION off of the base. So what I've made here are 3 wheels, and the first wheel is prefixes that we've talked about in other word nerd videos. The second middle wheel are a bunch of bases that we've talked about, and the last wheel is all ION. And you're going to see how that true ION suffix connects with the end of a base to form that what we call final stable syllable that says shun, that we can chunk off as readers to help us to decode or sound out a word. When we're spellers, it doesn't help us as much because we try to remember and memorize if it's TION or SION. But by approaching words through pieces and morphemes, like I've been trying to coach you to do, we can kind of remove that need for memorization because all we need to do is spell our base and then add the suffix ION. Anyway, I'm going to give it 2, maybe 3 spins. It's most likely going to generate nonsense words, and we'll go ahead and we'll figure out what the word means. Okay, first spin. We've got, oh, look at that. All I had to do was say it would be nonsense words and we get a real word. Struct means to build, and in means into. So remember, if I instruct, I'm building into you. And that's an action, right? The act of building in, I'm building in, that's a verb, it's an action word. It's by adding that ION, that Latin noun suffix, it makes it the act of building into. Let's try another one. Let's see if we get real or nonsense. Craziness, another real one. Tract, to pull. X means out. So if I extract, I pull something out. And extraction, the act of pulling something out. Look there, we've got that shun, extract, shun. And if I wanted to attack it for reading, I very well could have covered up the TION, knowing it would say shun. And I could have read the TRAC as track. Totally fine, not wrong for reading purposes, but for spelling purposes, and really when we're analyzing the word by morphemes, this is the way it would break down. Okay, let's try one more. Here we go. Okay, nonsense words is usually what this thing generates. Port, to carry. Inter, between. So interport would be to carry between. Again, that's a verb, that's an action. By adding the ION, I'm making it a noun. The act of carrying between. Okay, cool. All I'm trying to do here is to show you that it appears that TION walks together as a chunk because so many of our bases end in a T. We do have some that just didn't happen to come up here when I spun my wheels today that end in S. And when that happens, we've got what appears to be that SION. Let's go ahead and let's look at this a little bit more deeply.